Welcome to the Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy, and this is where characters gather. Well, this is a redo. I have already filmed this video once this morning, and apparently none of the audio recorded along with the video. So rather than give you a weekly wrap up with no sound, I decided to wisely re-record. Yeah, it's Monday. So let's do some housekeeping first. If you're new here, if you're a returning viewer, thank you. I appreciate each and every one of you. And I hope you find something new to read that may not have been on your radar. As many of you know, there was a video that released much earlier this morning. There have been very beautiful comments made. Please know that I have read them. I appreciate them. But it is one video in which I am choosing to refrain from comments. Know that I've read them all. I appreciate them all. I love all of your sentiments and your support and your friendship, but that is the one video I obviously am choosing not to respond to comments on. Okay. So what did I read last week? Last week was a very productive reading week. I finished a book at least one book a day for almost the entire week. It was a lot, but it was good. So I didn't have any DNFs. I do have a DNF, but I'm not mentioning the book because I didn't read enough to qualify it as a DNF. I realized very early on into the book that it is a trope I am tired of. And what is that trope, you're asking? It is using the Savannah Bananas as the basis for a sports rom-com. It can be done very well, as Emma St. Clair and Jenny Proctor have done. However, I am over the whole social media thing being in a book. I'm over the whole sports teams acting like fools for social media. Give me a story that has some depth. If it has sports in it, great. If it's a romantic comedy, great. But it should be able to stand on its own without that tomfoolery. I put it away. I think I'm done with sports romance for a while until the whole fascination with Savannah Banana stuff just diminishes completely because I am not here for it. Okay, so what did I read last week? Let's cover the two that were in the vlog, which I will link down below. That was Every Time I Go on Vacation, Someone Dies by Mack, and How to Age Disgracefully by Clare Pooley. I've covered them both in a vlog. Y'all know my feelings about these books. Enough said. Okay. Happier reading notes. I did finish Sign of the Cross by Emery. This also fulfilled an Olympic readathon challenge prompt. It has gold on the cover. And I absolutely love this author, this book, this first in a series, the whole 9 yards. It also, I believe it fulfills a suspense prompt too. So I'm good on readathon so far this month. Mood reading for the win. This is a cross between a legal and a hard-hitting mystery investigation. This is not, I repeat, this is not a cozy mystery. This is a Catholic legal mystery. It is fantastic. It is set in Halifax, Canada. And it is the first in the Burke and Collins mystery series, the newest of which releases in the end of September this year. This book, Sign of the Cross, was released in 1990. So it is a long-running series. I will not be caught up before the newest book releases. However, I will get to it eventually. This was a Kindle purchase. I will continue to purchase the rest of the books of the series. I will read anything she writes. And it tells the story of Father Burke, who is a priest at St. Bernadette's, and one of the helpers for the choir school is killed after a dance, and suspicion quickly falls on Father Burke, and Collins is the attorney called in to represent him and who then investigates the case. And we quickly learn that Father Burke is human, and he is not perfect, and he is a sinner like the rest of us, and he has faults and wobbles, and he occasionally strays from his vows. And this is not a book that is a cozy mystery by any stretch of the imagination. This is a gritty, hard-hitting mystery in which, yes, there is swearing, none of which is gratuitous. It shows Catholic clergy as humans with faults and challenges and blinders like all the rest of us. It shows a marriage that has fractured but not broken. I loved everything about this book. It was a show me, don't tell me mystery. The legal was fantastic. It beautifully sets up the second book. I could see one of my favorite priests growing up in the pastor of St. Bernadette's, and just this was just lovely. There is Catholicism, there is choir, the whole 9 yards. There is a, coming back to faith. And I love the priests are people too. And they're not perfect, even though we tend to hold them up as examples. They're very much human, just like the rest of us. And this book does a fantastic job of illustrating that. So this book isn't going to be for everybody. But if you're not Catholic, but you still love a legal, hard-hitting mystery, this will be great. If you're Catholic and you can overlook the non-gratuitous swearing and you like a hard-hitting legal mystery, it will be even better because you will recognize things and you will understand things. And this was, excuse me, the church as it was in 1990, which does not reflect the church as it is today. And that's very obvious very quickly. I cannot recommend this book enough. I truly cannot recommend this book enough. So, what else did I read? Not last week, I believe the week before, I read Autumn by the Sea by Melissa Tagg. This is the first book in the Muir Harbor series. The series is available on Kindle Unlimited. This is Christian contemporary romance, and it is set in Maine. And I didn't know what to expect going in. I was a little leery, as I always am with new Christian authors. And however, the faith in here is gentle every day. It doesn't hit you over the head. It is well interspersed in the book. And this was just delightful. It takes place in Maine on the coast. And it is about finding family and coming to accept your past and yourself. It was just a beautiful read. And the second book is all lined up on my Kindle. I almost opened it up last night. Tells you how much I enjoyed this one. It is just gorgeous, and all the covers are outstanding. So, I read that one. What else did I read? I listened to Murder Most French by Colleen Cambridge. This is the second book in the American in Paris series. And I really loved the first book. This book was okay. It wasn't as good as the first book. And realized why as I was filming the first version of this video this morning. There wasn't enough Julia Child in the second book. It was just missing that Julia charm and that Julia abruptness. Don't get me wrong, I still enjoyed it. It was still an enjoyable, cozy romp through post-World War II France. I enjoyed the visit to the catacombs and learning how mushrooms are grown down there, but there just wasn't enough Julia. So hopefully book 3 gets back on track with more Julia in the book. And much like the first book, the narration in this second installment was spot on perfection. It just absolutely was perfection. Okay. And then what did I read? Hang on, I need to look at my list. Another library listen was Dead End by Nancy Mehl. This was the third and concluding book in the Kaylee Quinn trilogy. This is Christian romantic suspense. And like all Nancy books, the romance concludes in book 3. I thought book 3 was stronger than book 2, but still not as strong as the first book in the series, which is Mind Games. And in book 3, Kaylee is asked unofficially by the FBI to go interview her serial killer father in prison because copycat crimes are popping up and the killer is leaving a signature that was never released to the public. And so Kaylee finds herself having to come to peace with her father and her past, and a lot of stuff gets worked out in this book. It did a much better job of showing, not telling, I guess, the bad guy. It was better than book 2. It was just, book 1 was much more engaging for me than either of the rest of the trilogy. However, I still enjoyed it immensely. The narration was great. It's a fast, easy listen, easy recommendation. All right, last book I read this weekend, well, that I finished this week, was Target Acquired by Lynette Eason. This is book 2 in the Lake City series. This was an arc from NetGalley for my fair and honest review. And this is by far the worst Lynette Eason book I've read. Talking to Amanda over the weekend, I told her I had read it. She asked... So Amanda asked what my star rating would be, and I said it's probably a 2.5 or a 3. And to be honest, it is probably going to get a 2.5 when I rate it on Storygraph today. So we're once again following SWAT team members. Our main characters this time are Kenzie and Cole. The book opens up in, I think it's 1947, in an insane asylum in Lake City, North Carolina. And that is not an easy prologue. And then it cuts to present day. So it is a dual timeline story. There is not enough of the 1947 timeline story, in my opinion, to explain the conclusion of the book. Not enough fleshed out details, not enough backstory, just there was not enough. And then we have the villain problem, in which the villain is, let's be generous and say he's my age. There's a co-villain who's older, but yet somehow makes a daring escape after attempting to blow up a warehouse with people inside through the roof and rafters of a warehouse, escape out a hole in the roof, elude the SWAT team, and run through the forest and tunnels and escape in a car, the whole 9 yards. It was just unbelievable. It was hysterically unbelievable, in my opinion. I didn't buy the justification for the bad guy. It became a tell me, not show me ending, which is unusual for her. And I felt like she didn't know where the plot was going. It just kind of ran out of steam, and boom, there it is. There's also the problem of the romance in the book. Cole is Kenzie's boss. They've known each other since childhood, but he's still her boss. So you have a workplace romance where it's, boss employee, and then it's also a trauma-induced romance. Another one of those do I enjoy. This was just a hard pass miss for me. This was just not her normal standard read. But it did fulfill a prompt for the suspense readathon for me, and I'm glad I read it, don't get me wrong, because I'm probably going to read book 3, but it was nowhere near as strong as book 1 in this series. Okay, so what am I reading? Well, I almost finished The Bride of Ivy Hill last night. I'm listening to it on Audible while I do other things, and to paraphrase Salieri and Amadeus, there are too many words. Yeah. I have roughly 3.5 hours to go in the in the narration, and this story could have wrapped up 3 hours ago as far as I'm concerned. As I was going to go edit the first version of this video, I turned on the book while, clips were uploading, and a wild lion appears in Salisbury. Yeah. I lost it then. I'm like, what? Really? A lion attacking a coach. And a dog just happens along to, attempt to distract the lion who's, attacking a horse. There's too much going on in this book. There are too many characters. There is too many words. This just went on far longer than it needed to. I will finish listening to the audio. It's going to be a rare miss for me for Julie Klassen. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate it, but way too many words, way too many side characters. Not a focused book, unfortunately. I did start last night The Duke's Diary by Ashton Newbold. This is book 2 in the Improbable Charade series. If that is not right, the correct series name is right here. And I'm loving this. It opens up with a great opening line. You're immediately drawn in, and this will be a very quick, easy read for me. I'm looking forward to it. I am not sure what I'm going to listen to this week after I finish The Bride of Ivy Hill, I know I'm going to pick up Wars of Radiance, which I did not open at all of July, unfortunately. So I need to get on that. And I'm going to read a Nancy Thayer this week. You know, life is open. So, what did you read last week? Anything good? Anything I should pick up? Leave a comment down below, like and subscribe, and I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.